She slapped the mafia boss in public for disrespecting her friend. He smiled and said, "Finally, someone real." The sound echoed through the obsidian lounge like a gunshot, sharp, unmistakable, impossible to ignore. Anna Jean, 23 years old and working her third double shift that week, had just done the unthinkable. She'd struck Damiano Mancini across the face with enough force to leave a mark. And the most terrifying part? He didn't look angry. He looked fascinated. What Anna didn't know was that Damiano Mancini wasn't just another wealthy patron. He was the man who controlled half of Manhattan's underground operations. He was the reason people spoke in whispers. He was the shadow that made other shadows afraid. And she'd just publicly humiliated him in front of his entire crew. This should have been the end of Anna's story. Instead, it was just the beginning. The thing about working at the Obsidian was that the velvet ropes and crystal chandeliers didn't keep darkness out, they just made it look expensive. Anna Jean had learned that lesson 6 months ago when her best friend, Wanda Jones, had confided through tears that she owed money to someone dangerous. Not credit card debt, not student loans, real debt. The kind that came with consequences that couldn't be fixed by payment plans or bankruptcy lawyers. The kind of debt owned by men who didn't send collection letters, they sent consequences. Tonight, the consequences had walked through the door wearing a tailored suit that probably cost more than Anna's entire year of rent. Anna was behind the bar, polishing wine glasses with mechanical precision when she felt the temperature in the room drop. It wasn't literal, the air conditioning was broken again, leaving the lounge warm and stuffy, but there was a shift in atmosphere that made every instinct scream danger. She looked up. 3 men stood in the entrance. 2 were built like mountains stuffed into expensive suits, their eyes scanning the room with professional efficiency. But it was the 3rd man who made Anna's breath catch. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair slicked back from a face that could have been carved from marble by an angry sculptor. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, eyes so dark they looked black in the dim lighting. He moved with the fluid grace of someone who'd never had to ask for anything twice, because people were too afraid not to give it the first time. Damiano Mancini. Anna knew the name from Wanda's terrified whispers, knew he was the man her friend owed money to, knew he was connected to things Anna didn't want to think about too closely. What she didn't know was just how dangerous he really was. Wanda was at the other end of the bar, her hands trembling as she arranged cocktail napkins into perfect squares. When she saw Damiano, she went so pale Anna thought she might faint. "Wanda," Anna whispered urgently. Moving closer. "What's—" But Damiano was already walking toward them, his bodyguards flanking him like twin pillars of intimidation. The few remaining patrons in the lounge suddenly found reasons to be very interested in their drinks. He stopped directly in front of Wanda. Didn't sit, didn't smile, just looked at her with those cold, assessing eyes. "Wanda Jones." His voice was smooth, cultured, with the faintest trace of an Italian accent. It wasn't loud, but it carried absolute authority. "We have business to discuss." Wanda's voice came out as a whisper. "Mr. Mancini? I have most of it. I just need another 2 weeks. 2 weeks!" Damiano's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Disappointment, maybe. Or contempt. "That's what you said 2 weeks ago, and 2 weeks before that. I'm trying. Trying is not the same as succeeding." He reached into his jacket pocket, and Anna's hand instinctively moved toward the phone in her apron, ready to call 911. But he didn't pull out a weapon. He pulled out a small velvet pouch. He opened it deliberately, letting the contents spill across the polished bar top. Diamonds. At least a dozen of them, each one catching the light from the chandelier and throwing rainbow sparks across the dark wood. Anna stared. Those stones represented more money than she'd see in 5 years of bartending. "This," Damiano said quietly, "is the value of your debt. Approximately." Wanda's eyes went wide with confusion. I don't understand. "I'm paying off your debt." His smile was cold, sharp-edged. Consider it a gift, you're free. For one beautiful, impossible moment, hope bloomed on Wanda's face. Then Damiano continued, "However, there are conditions. You will no longer work in this establishment, or any establishment in Manhattan that I or my associates frequent." Which is to say, his gesture encompassed the entire city. "You will not work in Manhattan at all. You have 48 hours to leave the city. If I see you after that, the debt returns." With interest. The hope died. Wanda's face crumbled. But this is my home. My family is here. I can't just—" "You can. And you will." Damiano's voice held no sympathy, no warmth. "Consider yourself fortunate. I'm being generous tonight." He reached out and casually swept the diamonds off the bar. They scattered across the floor like worthless pebbles, the sound of them hitting the tile obscenely loud in the silent lounge. That was the moment something inside Anna snapped. She'd spent 6 months watching Wanda work herself to exhaustion, taking on extra shifts, skipping meals, living in constant fear of this man and his debt. She'd held her friend while she cried. She'd helped her count and recount the money she'd managed to save, always falling short of what she owed. And now this man, this arrogant, cruel man in his perfect suit with his cold eyes, was destroying Wanda's entire life. Not out of necessity, not because he needed the money, but because he could. Anna didn't think, didn't plan, didn't calculate the consequences. She just moved. Around the bar, 3 quick steps, until she was standing directly in front of Damiano Mancini, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. His eyes shifted to her, registering her presence with mild surprise. "Can I help you?" "You know what?" Anna's voice shook with rage, but she held his gaze. "You're right about one thing. You're being generous. Generously cruel, generously sadistic. Congratulations on being generous in all the worst ways." One of the bodyguards took a step forward. Damiano held up a hand, stopping him. "Excuse me." "You heard me." Anna's hands clenched into fists. "You think throwing money around makes you powerful? You think destroying someone's life because you can makes you impressive? You're just a bully in an expensive suit." "Anna," Wanda's voice was terrified. "Don't." But Anna was past stopping. "You want respect? Try earning it instead of buying it. You want to be feared? Mission accomplished. But you want to be anything other than a monster? Then stop acting like—" She didn't finish the sentence. Instead, her hand flew up and connected with Damiano Mancini's face with a crack that echoed through the entire lounge. The slap was hard, clean. Her palm stung from the impact. Time stopped. The bodyguards froze, their hands moving toward their jackets. Wanda gasped. The bartender who'd been watching from the kitchen doorway dropped the tray he was holding. And Damiano's head had snapped to the side from the force of the blow. Slowly, deliberately, he turned back to face Anna, his hand coming up to touch the red mark blooming across his cheekbone. Anna's anger drained away instantly, replaced by ice-cold terror. What had she done? But Damiano wasn't angry. He was smiling. Not a warm smile. Not even an amused smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just found interesting prey. "Interessante," he murmured, his dark eyes locked on hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. Finally, someone real. He stepped closer, close enough that Anna could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, could feel the heat radiating off his body. "What's your name?" His voice was soft now, dangerous. "Anna." It came out as a whisper. "Anna." He repeated it like he was tasting it. "Anna, who slaps men in public and doesn't apologize. Anna, who thinks I'm a monster." His smile widened fractionally. "You're absolutely right. I am a monster." He reached into his jacket again. This time, he pulled out a business card, pressing it into Anna's trembling hand. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. That address. Don't be late." He glanced at Wanda. "Your debt is paid. You can stay." "But you—" His eyes returned to Anna. "You have a new debt now. To me. Then he turned and walked out, his bodyguards following, leaving Anna standing in the middle of the obsidian with a business card in her hand and the certainty that her life had just changed forever. Wanda grabbed her arm. Anna, oh my God, do you know what you just did? Anna stared at the door where Damiano had disappeared. I think, she said slowly, I just slapped the most dangerous man in New York. And he smiled, Wanda whispered, her voice filled with horror. Anna, when Damiano Mancini smiles, people disappear. Anna looked down at the business card. Embossed letters, heavy stock, an address in Midtown. She should run. Should leave the city tonight. Should change her name and disappear. Instead, she tucked the card into her pocket. Because beneath the terror, beneath the certainty that she'd made a terrible mistake, was something else. Curiosity. And the strangest feeling that when Damiano Mancini had looked at her, really looked at her, seeing past the bartender uniform to the person underneath, she'd felt more alive than she had in years. Which was either the beginning of something extraordinary, or the beginning of the end. Possibly both. Anna was fired before she even made it to the back room. Marcus, the Obsidian's manager, intercepted her with a face like thunder and a severance check already printed. You're done. Pack your things. Don't come back. Marcus, I can explain. Explain what? That you assaulted our most important client? His voice dropped to a furious whisper. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mancini could shut us down with a phone call. He could. Marcus stopped, his face going pale. Just leave. Now. Before he changes his mind about whatever the hell he's planning. Anna grabbed her bag from her locker, her hands shaking so badly she could barely work the combination. The reality was crashing down like a collapsing building. She'd slapped Damiano Mancini. She'd called him a monster to his face. That smile was the thing that terrified her most. Wanda was waiting outside, pacing the sidewalk like a caged animal. The moment she saw Anna, she grabbed her arms. What were you thinking? Anna, what the hell were you thinking? I was thinking he was destroying your life for sport. Anna's voice came out steadier than she felt. I was thinking someone needed to tell him he's not God. He might as well be. Wanda's eyes were wild with fear. You don't understand. Damiano Mancini doesn't forgive. He doesn't forget. People who cross him don't just lose their jobs, Anna. They disappear. He gave me his card. Told me to meet him tomorrow. Wanda went absolutely still. He what? Anna pulled out the heavy cardstock, the embossed letters catching the streetlight. 10 a.m. This address. Don't go. Wanda's voice broke. Please, Anna, don't go. We'll leave the city tonight, both of us. We'll go to Chicago or Portland or... And then what? Live in fear forever? Wonder when he'll find us? Anna squeezed her friend's hands. He wants something, and whatever it is, I need to face it, for both of us. She didn't sleep that night, just lay in her cramped studio apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment over and over, the sound of her palm connecting with his face, the way his head had snapped to the side, that predatory smile. Finally, someone real. What the hell did that mean? At 9:30 a.m., Anna stood outside a gleaming tower in Midtown, staring up at the building that housed Mancini Global. The lobby was all marble and steel, aggressively modern, with security that looked more military than corporate. She gave her name to the front desk. The receptionist's professional smile flickered when she checked the system. Mr. Mancini is expecting you. 42nd floor. Someone will escort you. The elevator ride felt like ascending to her own execution. The doors opened onto a reception area that could have been featured in an architecture magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her car. Everything pristine, controlled, sterile, the perfect mask for whatever darkness lived underneath. A woman in a severe black suit appeared. Miss Jean, this way. Anna followed her down a hallway lined with abstract art that probably had 7-figure price tags. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Then she was standing in front of massive double doors. The woman knocked once and opened them without waiting for a response. Damiano's office was enormous. More windows, more minimalist luxury. A massive desk that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of black marble, and behind it, the man himself. He looked different in daylight. No less dangerous, but somehow more real. His suit was charcoal gray today, perfectly tailored, his dark hair slightly less severe. The red mark from her slap was gone or expertly concealed. "Miss Jean." He didn't stand, just gestured to the chair across from him. "Punctual, I appreciate that." Anna sat because her legs were shaking. She forced herself to meet his eyes. "Let's skip the pleasantries. What do you want?" That almost smile appeared. Direct, also appreciated. He slid a document across the desk. "First, this." Anna picked it up. It was official, stamped, notarized, Wanda's name at the top, and across the middle in bold letters, "P.A.D. in full." "Her debt is settled," Damiano said, his voice matter of fact. "She can stay in the city, work wherever she wants, no conditions." Anna stared at the document, her mind racing. "Why?" "Because you asked me to. In your own unique way." "I didn't ask. I insulted you and hit you." "Yes. And it was the most honest interaction I've had in years." Damiano leaned back in his chair, studying her with those unsettling dark eyes. "Do you know what my days consist of, Miss Jean? People lying to me. People trying to manipulate me. People telling me exactly what they think I want to hear. It's exhausting. And then you," he gestured, almost admiringly. "You looked at me like I was dirt on your shoe and told me exactly what you thought. So you cleared a $40,000 debt because I was rude to you? I cleared it because I want something from you, and I don't want you distracted by loyalty to your friend." He pulled out another document. "This is a contract, employment contract. The position is personal strategy consultant." Anna took it warily. The salary figure made her eyes widen. This is more than I'd make in 2 years. You'll earn it. Your job will be simple. Attend my business meetings, assess the people I'm dealing with, and tell me the truth. Are they lying? Are they trustworthy? Are they trying to manipulate me? You have an instinct for people, Miss Jean. I saw it last night. You read the room, read me, and made a decision. A stupid decision that got me fired. A brave decision that intrigued me." He leaned forward, his intensity suddenly focused entirely on her. "I don't need another yes man. I don't need another perfectly polished assistant who's terrified of me. I need someone who will tell me the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable." "That's you." Anna's mind spun. This was insane. Working for a man who was clearly far more than just an import businessman, working for someone dangerous. But Wanda's debt was paid. Wanda was safe. And if she said no? What happened then? "What if I refuse?" she asked quietly. Damiano's expression didn't change. "Then you leave. Wanda's debt stays paid. You're both free. But," he paused, "you'll always wonder what would have happened if you'd been brave enough to say yes." It wasn't a threat. It was worse. It was a challenge. Anna looked at the contract, looked at the man across the desk with his cold eyes and dangerous smile. "This is a mistake. This is the biggest mistake of your life. Where do I sign?" she heard herself say. Damiano's smile widened, still predatory, but now with something else underneath. Satisfaction, anticipation. "Welcome to Mancini Global, Miss Jean." He pushed a pen across the desk. "I think this is going to be very interesting." Anna's first day at Mancini Global started with a designer suit she couldn't afford and a panic attack in the bathroom. The suit had been delivered to her apartment at 7 a.m. Black, perfectly tailored, with a note in sharp handwriting. "You represent me now. Dress accordingly. DM." Now she sat in a glass-walled conference room, surrounded by men in $1,000 suits discussing import tariffs, and logistics optimization in tones that suggested they were talking about something else entirely. Damiano sat at the head of the table, his presence commanding without effort, his dark eyes occasionally flicking to her with an expression she couldn't read. "Miss Jean." His voice cut through the corporate jargon like a blade. "Your assessment?" Every eye in the room turned to her. Anna's throat went dry. The man who'd been presenting, silver-haired, expensively dressed, with a smile like a shark, raised an eyebrow. "I'm sorry, who is this?" "My consultant," Damiano said smoothly. "Miss Jean, Mr. Castellano has just proposed a partnership that would expand our Eastern distribution network. Your thoughts?" Anna looked at Castellano. Really looked. The way she used to look at customers at the Obsidian, reading the micro-expressions, the tells, the things people thought they were hiding. His smile was too wide, his hands kept moving to adjust his watch, and when he'd outlined the profit projections, his eyes had shifted, left the classic tell of someone constructing a lie. "He's lying," Anna said. The room went silent. Castellano's smile froze. "Excuse me? The numbers don't work. You quoted a 40% increase in efficiency, but you didn't account for seasonal variation or the existing supply chain disruptions in that region. Either you haven't done your homework," Anna leaned forward slightly, "or you have, and you're hoping we haven't." Damiano's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Interest. Continue. You want access to our distribution network because yours is failing. This isn't a partnership, it's a rescue operation dressed up in corporate speak. And you," she gestured to the thick folder Castellano had brought, "you brought way too much documentation. People with legitimate proposals bring essentials. People trying to bury red flags bring a paper mountain." Castellano's face had gone from confident to furious. "Mr. Mancini, I don't know who this woman thinks she is. She thinks she's someone who can spot a con artist." Damiano stood, buttoning his jacket with deliberate precision. "We're done here, Castellano. My assistant will show you out." After Castellano left, radiating impotent rage, Damiano turned to Anna. For a long moment, he just looked at her, his dark eyes unreadable. Then he smiled. A real smile, not the cold, predatory one. It transformed his face, making him look younger, almost human. "How did you know?" he asked. "Bartenders are basically professional lie detectors. We learn to spot who's going to tip well, who's going to cause trouble, who's going to pay their tab. Same skills, higher stakes." Anna's heart was still racing from the adrenaline. "Did I just ruin your deal?" "You just saved me from a very expensive mistake." Damiano gestured toward the door. "Come, we have 4 more meetings today. I want to see what else you can do." By the 3rd meeting, Anna had found her rhythm. She called out a businessman's fake credentials with a joke about LinkedIn being creative fiction for executives. She identified a mole in Damiano's shipping operation by noting that the man kept checking his phone at oddly specific intervals. Either he's the world's most anxious texter, or someone's feeding him information in real time. Damiano watched her with growing fascination, his controlled exterior occasionally cracking to reveal something like amusement. By the time they returned to his office, Anna felt simultaneously exhausted and electrified. She collapsed into the chair across from his desk, kicked off the designer heels that were murdering her feet, and propped them on his immaculate desk. "If I'm going to survive this job, I'm going to need better shoes and significantly more coffee." Damiano stared at her feet on his desk, on the pristine black marble where everything was arranged with surgical precision. "Problem?" Anna asked, too tired to care about protocol. "No one," he said slowly, "has ever put their feet on my desk before." "Well, congratulations, you just popped your desk feet virginity." She grinned at his expression. "Too far?" "That was too far. My filter dies around hour 6 without caffeine." Instead of anger, Damiano laughed. Actually laughed. A low, genuine sound that seemed to surprise him as much as it surprised her. "You're chaos," he said, but there was something almost admiring in his tone. Absolute chaos. And your control. Absolute control. We balance each other out. Anna grabbed her bag, pulling out a truly hideous mug, bright yellow with "World's Okayest Employee" printed in Comic Sans. I'm leaving this here. For tomorrow. Don't throw it away. She placed it dead center on his minimalist desk, a splash of chaotic color in his sterile world. Damiano picked it up, examining it like it was a live grenade. This is offensive to my eyes. It's a gift. You're welcome. I hate it. You'll learn to love it. Anna stood, wobbling slightly in the heels she'd put back on. Same time tomorrow, boss? She made it 2 steps before she tripped over her own exhausted feet. Damiano moved with surprising speed, catching her before she hit the ground. His hands were firm on her waist, steadying her, and suddenly they were very, very close. Anna could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive that made her head swim, could feel the heat of his body through the thin fabric of her shirt, could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes that she'd never noticed before. Careful, he murmured, his voice dropping an octave. Can't have my best consultant breaking her neck on day 1. Your only consultant, Anna corrected, but her voice came out breathless. They stood frozen for a moment that stretched too long. His hands were still on her waist. Her palms were pressed against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart under the expensive fabric. The air between them felt charged, dangerous, like standing too close to a lightning strike. Damiano's eyes dropped to her lips for just a fraction of a second. Then he stepped back, releasing her with deliberate control. Tomorrow, he said, his voice carefully neutral. 9 a.m. Don't be late. Anna grabbed her bag and practically ran for the elevator, her heart hammering. In the safety of the descending elevator, she pressed her hands to her flushed cheeks. That was dangerous. That was so dangerous. Because the terrifying truth was this. When Damiano Mancini had caught her, when he'd looked at her with those intense dark eyes, she hadn't wanted him to let go. And from the way his hands had tightened on her waist for just a moment before releasing her, she suspected he'd felt it too. This job was supposed to be about survival, about protecting Wanda, about navigating danger with her eyes open. But no one had warned her about this particular danger, the kind that lived in the space between professional distance and something far more devastating. She was in trouble. And the worst part? Some reckless part of her didn't care. 2 weeks into her new life, Anna had developed a routine. Arrive at 9, survive meetings filled with coded language and dangerous men, return to Damiano's office to deliver brutally honest assessments, and try to ignore the way her pulse quickened every time he looked at her. The ugly yellow mug now sat permanently on his desk, filled with pens. He claimed to hate it. He'd never moved it. Tonight, the office was empty, except for them. Most of the staff had left hours ago, but Damiano seemed to live here, working until the city lights below became the only illumination he needed. I need you to look at something. He handed her a slim folder, his expression unreadable. There's a discrepancy in an old acquisition file. Property records that don't match the timeline. I need fresh eyes. Anna took it, flipping through pages of legal documents and architectural surveys. This is from 15 years ago. Why does it matter now? Because inconsistencies matter, even old ones. His voice was carefully neutral. Take your time. Let me know what you find. He disappeared into the attached conference room, leaving Anna alone with the file and the unsettling feeling that she'd just been handed a test she didn't understand. She spread the documents across his desk, her bartender-trained pattern recognition kicking in. Property deed, insurance claim, building permits, and a photograph slipped out from between 2 pages. It showed a building old, elegant, with ornate stonework that spoke of old-world craftsmanship, but the photo had been taken after a fire. The structure was gutted, blackened, skeletal, ash and destruction where beauty had been. Anna turned it over. On the back, in faded ink, Mancini and Sons, 2010. Her breath caught. This wasn't just a random property. This was personal. She looked closer at the insurance documents. The claim had been denied. Arson suspected but never proven. The business, a legitimate importing firm, she realized with surprise had been destroyed, and the family had received nothing. Find something interesting? Anna jumped. Damiano stood in the doorway, his jacket discarded, his tie loosened. He looked less controlled than usual, more human, and his eyes were fixed on the photograph in her hands. I found... Anna hesitated, choosing her words carefully. I found the discrepancy. The insurance company claimed arson to avoid payment, but the fire marshal's report suggests electrical failure. Someone falsified records. Yes. Damiano walked to the window, his back to her. They did. This was your family's business. My father's. And my grandfather's before him. His voice was flat, emotionless, which somehow made it worse. 3 generations of legitimate work, destroyed in one night. The insurance company was owned by the Luciano family. They needed our competition eliminated. A convenient fire solved their problem. Anna stood, still holding the photograph. How old were you? 17. Old enough to understand what we'd lost. Old enough to know we had no legal recourse because the Lucianos owned the judges, the investigators, the system. He turned to face her, and for the first time, she saw something raw in his expression. My father tried to rebuild, took loans from people he shouldn't have, died of a heart attack 3 years later, buried in debt and shame. So you rebuilt it yourself. Differently. Anna understood now. The import business wasn't just business. It was revenge, dressed in legitimacy. You became what they were. I became what I had to be to survive. Damiano's jaw tightened. And to make sure no one could ever take anything from me again. Anna should have felt afraid. Should have seen this confirmation of his dangerous world and run. Instead, she felt something else entirely. A fierce, protective anger for a 17-year-old boy who'd watched his family's honor burn. You know what I think? She walked toward him, still holding the photograph. I think you've built an empire just to prove you don't need anyone. But here's the thing about empires. They're really cold places to live alone. I'm not alone. I have employees, associates, business partners. You have assets, not people. Anna stopped directly in front of him, close enough to see the exhaustion in his eyes. When was the last time someone talked to you without wanting something? Without being afraid of you? When was the last time anything felt real? Damiano's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through the controlled surface. The last time someone slapped me in public and called me a monster to my face. Oh! Anna's voice softened. That's really sad, actually. Is it? Yes. Because that means the only authentic moment you've had in years was me assaulting you. Your bar for genuine human connection is literally violence. She tried for humor, hoping to lighten the moment. We really need to work on your standards. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Perhaps. I'm serious. You can't go around collecting people who hit you. It's not a sustainable relationship model. Anna. He cut her off, his voice rough. Do you know why I hired you? Because I'm devastatingly perceptive and moderately amusing? Because, when you slapped me, you weren't afraid. You were angry on behalf of someone else, no less. You saw something you thought was wrong, and you acted. No calculation. No self-preservation, just pure, reckless courage. His dark eyes held hers. Everyone in my life is afraid of me. Everyone wants something from me. Everyone lies. But you just told the truth, and damn the consequences. That's called being impulsive and kind of stupid. That's called being real. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and touched her face with surprising gentleness. You're the most real thing in my world, Anna Jean. And it's terrifying. Anna's heart hammered against her ribs. Why terrifying? Because real things can hurt you. Real things can be lost. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. And I've spent 15 years making sure I never care about anything enough to be hurt again. That's not living. That's just surviving with better furniture." Damiano laughed soft, broken, real. "You're absolutely right. I usually am. It's annoying, I know." He kissed her. Not the predatory, controlled kiss she might have expected. This was raw, desperate, like a man breaking the surface after drowning. His hands cupped her face with a reverence that made her chest ache, and when she kissed him back, she felt him shudder. This wasn't about power or control. This was about two people who'd been alone too long, finding something unexpected and terrifying and real. When they finally broke apart, Damiano rested his forehead against hers, his breath unsteady. "This is a mistake," he whispered. "Probably," Anna agreed. "You should run, far away from me and everything I am. I'm not very good at running. I'm more of a slap first, think later kind of person." He laughed again, and the sound wrapped around her heart. "Stay, please." It wasn't a command, it was a request. Vulnerable and honest. Anna looked at this dangerous man with his empire of shadows and his carefully guarded heart, and made a choice that was definitely reckless and possibly catastrophic. Okay. The kiss changed everything and nothing. They didn't talk about it. Damiano retreated behind his controlled exterior, and Anna pretended her world hadn't shifted on its axis. But the yellow mug now sat closer to his side of the desk, and sometimes she'd catch him looking at her with an expression that made her forget how to breathe. 3 days later, everything went to hell. Anna was reviewing shipping manifests when she noticed the pattern's subtle discrepancies in delivery schedules, routes that made no logical sense, shipments that arrived late with suspiciously convenient explanations. "Damiano." She burst into his office without knocking, spreading documents across his desk. "Someone's sabotaging your operations." He looked up sharply. "Explain." "These delays aren't random. They're strategic. Someone's feeding information about your shipments to competitors. They know exactly which routes to intercept, which deliveries to delay for maximum impact." Her finger traced the pattern. "Look, every incident happens after strategy meetings with your senior staff. Someone in your inner circle is selling you out." Damiano's expression went cold. "Dangerous. Who?" "I don't know yet. But I can narrow it down." Anna pulled up her notes. "Only 5 people have access to this level of detail. Your CFO, your head of operations, your legal counsel, Marco." Damiano's voice was quiet, lethal. "My legal counsel. He's been with me for 8 years. He's also been checking his phone during sensitive meetings, always at the same times. And last week, when you discussed the Brooklyn expansion, he left immediately after. That shipment was hit 2 days later." Damiano stood, his controlled facade cracking to reveal the dangerous man underneath. "If you're right." "I'm right. I've watched him for 3 days. Every pattern matches." Anna met his eyes. "The question is, who's he working for?" "The Lucianos." Damiano's hands clenched. "They've been trying to undermine my operations for months. This is how." He pulled out his phone, his jaw tight. "I'm calling a meeting. Tonight. Marco and the others. No." Anna grabbed his wrist. "If you confront him directly, you'll show your hand. He'll warn whoever he's working for, and you'll lose your chance to stop them. Then what do you suggest?" Anna thought fast, her mind racing through possibilities. "Give him false information, something big enough to be tempting, see if it gets leaked." Damiano studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "There's a shipment arriving Friday. High value. If I tell Marco the route and it gets intercepted, we'll have confirmation. And then? Then I deal with it." His voice held a finality that made her shiver. "But first, I need to know exactly what we're facing." He unlocked a drawer in his desk and pulled out a slim folder marked with red tape. "This is classified. Only 3 people know what's in here: myself, my head of security, and now you." Anna took it carefully. Inside were detailed intelligence reports on the Luciano family, their operations, their weaknesses, their connections. It was the kind of information that could get someone killed. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I trust you." Damiano's dark eyes held hers. "And because if something happens to me, you need to know what you're dealing with." "Nothing's going to happen to you, Anna." His voice softened. "The Lucianos don't play games. If they're moving against me this aggressively, it means they're planning something bigger than sabotage. You need to be prepared." Fear coiled in her stomach. Prepared for what? To run, to disappear, to save yourself. He touched her face gently. "When this starts, I want you out of the city. Tonight, I'll have my security team take you somewhere safe." "No." Anna's voice was flat, absolute. "Anna? No." She stepped closer, defiant. "I didn't take this job to run at the first sign of danger. You trusted me with this information because you need someone on your side. Someone who isn't afraid to tell you the truth. So here's the truth. I'm not leaving. Whatever happens, we face it together. You don't understand what you're risking." "I understand perfectly. You're the one who doesn't understand." Anna's eyes blazed. "I'm not some fragile thing you need to protect. I'm your partner in this. So stop trying to send me away and start trusting that I can handle it." Damiano stared at her, something like awe breaking through his concern. "You're infuriating. You're controlling. We're even." A ghost of a smile touched his lips, then it vanished, replaced by cold calculation. "All right, we do this together, but you follow my lead. Understood?" "Understood." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Marco now, telling him about a meeting tomorrow night, a negotiation with a new supplier in Red Hook, high stakes, confidential." "But there's no meeting." "Exactly. If the Lucianos show up at that location, we'll know Marco leaked it. And we'll be ready." Anna's heart raced. "What's your plan?" "I'm going to the location with minimal security. Make it look vulnerable. When they make their move, we'll have proof of Marco's betrayal and grounds to eliminate the Luciano threat permanently." "That's insane. You're making yourself bait." "I'm ending this." His voice was steel. "The Lucianos destroyed my family once. I won't let them do it again." Anna recognized that tone, the same immovable determination she'd seen in his eyes when he talked about the fire. "And where will I be during this suicide mission?" "Here. In this office, behind security that could stop a military assault." Damiano's expression softened. "Safe." Anna nodded slowly. But as Damiano made the call to Marco, spinning the false story with convincing detail, Anna made her own calculations. She'd promised to follow his lead. She'd never promised to stay behind. If Damiano Mancini thought he was walking into danger alone, he was about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating a bartender from Queens. The meeting was set for tomorrow night, which gave Anna exactly 24 hours to figure out how to follow a man who commanded an empire and thought he'd left her safely locked away. Challenge accepted. Anna had learned a lot working for Damiano Mancini: how to read body language in high-stakes negotiations, how to spot a lie in 3 seconds flat, and, most importantly, how his security team operated. They were efficient, professional, and critically creatures of habit. The evening shift changed at 7. For exactly 90 seconds, there was a blind spot in the garage surveillance while the new team logged in. And Damiano's driver, a mountain of a man named Victor, always did a final sweep of the perimeter before leaving, which meant the cars sat unattended for 3 full minutes. Anna used every second. She dressed in black, pulled her hair into a tight bun, and waited in the stairwell until Victor's footsteps faded. Then she moved fast, slipping into the third SUV in the convoy, the one used for equipment, not people. She wedged herself behind cargo containers in the back, her heart hammering so hard she was sure someone would hear it. The vehicles loaded up. Damiano's voice carried from outside giving final instructions, then doors slammed, engines started, and they were moving. Anna tried to breathe quietly, cramped in her hiding spot, every instinct screaming that this was insane. But the image of Damiano walking into a trap alone, making himself bait for the family that had destroyed his father, she couldn't let that happen, even if he'd be furious when he found her. The drive took 40 minutes. When they finally stopped, Anna heard car doors opening, low voices conferring. She waited until the footsteps moved away, then carefully emerged from her hiding spot. They were at an abandoned dock in Red Hook, exactly the kind of desolate location perfect for an ambush. Rusted shipping containers formed a maze around them, and the East River lapped against rotting pier posts. The moon was hidden behind clouds, making the darkness feel oppressive, heavy with threat. Anna crept around the SUV, staying low, trying to orient herself. "Anna." She froze. That voice, low, dangerous, absolutely furious. Damiano stood 10 feet away, his entire body radiating lethal control. His security team had fanned out around the perimeter, but his focus was entirely on her. "I can explain," she started. "Explain?" His voice was quiet, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Explain how you deliberately disobeyed direct instructions? Explain how you compromised this entire operation? Explain how you—" He stopped, his jaw working, and Anna realized with surprise that beneath the rage was something else. Fear. He was afraid for her. "I couldn't let you do this alone," she said quietly. "You were walking into a trap. That was the plan. The plan was stupid. You were going to get yourself killed to prove a point. And your plan was what? To get yourself killed alongside me?" Damiano closed the distance between them in 3 strides, his hands gripping her shoulders. "Do you have any idea what you've done? If the Lucianos come, if this goes wrong, then we face it together." Anna met his eyes without flinching. "You gave me access to everything. You called me your partner. Did you think that was just a title? Did you think I'd sit in your office and wait to hear if you survived? I thought you'd be safe." "I don't want safe." Her voice rose, echoing off the containers. "I want you alive. I want us to have more than 1 kiss and 3 weeks of pretending we don't feel what we feel. I want a chance at something real, and that means not letting you throw your life away for revenge." Damiano stared at her, his dark eyes blazing with emotion, anger, fear, and something fiercer. Then he pulled her against him and kissed her like the world was ending. It was desperate, consuming, nothing like the careful kiss in his office. This was raw need and absolute terror, the acknowledgement that they might not survive the night, that this might be all they had. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Damiano rested his forehead against hers. "You're the most infuriating woman I've ever met," he whispered. "You're the most suicidally stubborn man I've ever met. We're perfect for each other." A choked laugh escaped him. "If we survive this—" "When we survive this," Anna corrected. "When we survive this," he conceded, "we're having a serious conversation about you following orders. I look forward to ignoring it." She touched his face, tracing the sharp line of his jaw. "Whatever happens in there, whatever we're walking into, I don't regret coming. I'd do it again." Damiano's expression softened, transformed by something that looked dangerously close to love. "You're either the bravest person I know or the most reckless. Why not both?" He kissed her forehead, gentle and reverent. Then his expression shifted, hardening into the controlled mask she recognized, the dangerous man who'd built an empire from ash. "Stay close to me. If shooting starts, you get behind cover immediately. You do exactly what I say when I say it. Understood?" "Understood." One of his security team approached a lean man with cold eyes named Paolo. "Sir, we've got movement. 2 vehicles approaching from the south. They're trying to stay off the main roads." "The Lucianos." Damiano's voice was ice. "How many?" "At least 8 men, possibly more." Damiano looked at Anna one more time, and she saw everything in that gaze: protectiveness, possessiveness, fear, and fierce determination. He was looking at her not just as someone to protect, but as his equal. His partner. The person he trusted to stand beside him when everything fell apart. "Together," he said quietly. together, Anna agreed. They moved toward the designated meeting point, a cleared area between containers where the trap would spring. The air felt electric, charged with imminent violence. Anna's heart raced, but her mind was clear. She'd spent years reading people, anticipating danger in a bar full of drunk strangers. This was different, higher stakes, more lethal, but the core skill remained the same. Stay alert, trust your instincts, survive. Victor appeared from the shadows, his expression grim. They're here! And they brought serious firepower. Damiano's hand found Anna's, squeezed once a final acknowledgement of what they meant to each other. Then, headlights cut through the darkness, and everything changed. 2 black SUVs rolled into the clearing, their engines cutting simultaneously. Doors opened, and men emerged, 8, 9, 10 of them, all armed, all moving with military precision. And at their center, stepping into the harsh beam of headlights, was a man Anna recognized from the intelligence files. Vincent Luciano, head of the family that had destroyed Damiano's father, the enemy who'd been orchestrating this entire war from the shadows. He smiled cold, predatory, victorious. Damiano Mancini, I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Anna felt Damiano's hand tighten on hers. The trap had been sprung. But whose trap, exactly, remained to be seen. Vincent Luciano looked exactly like his file photo, silver-haired, expensively dressed, with the kind of smile that promised violence wrapped in civility. But in person, his eyes held a cruelty that no photograph could capture. "You're predictable, Mancini," Vincent gestured casually, and his men fanned out, forming a semicircle that cut off any escape route. "Your father was predictable too. Made it easy to burn down everything he built." Damiano's entire body went rigid. "You're confessing? Why not? You won't live long enough to repeat it." Vincent's smile widened. "Did you really think I'd fall for your little trap? That I didn't know about your mole hunt? Marco's been feeding me information for months, including your plan to expose him tonight. This meeting was never about negotiation, Damiano. It's about finally finishing what I started 15 years ago. Marco," Damiano's voice was lethal, "is currently being very well compensated for his loyalty to the right family." Vincent pulled out a gun, casual, comfortable, like he was retrieving a business card. "The difference between your father and you is that he had honor. He tried to fight me legally. You became a monster trying to avenge him, but monsters are easy to kill. You just need the right bait." His eyes flicked to Anna. "Your consultant. How touching. Tell me, does she know what you really are? What you've done to build your little empire? Leave her out of this." Damiano's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "But she's already in it. The moment she attached herself to you, she signed her death warrant." Vincent raised his gun, aiming it directly at Anna. "Let's start there, shall we? Make you watch before—" Everything exploded into chaos. Damiano moved with brutal speed, pulling Anna behind a shipping container as gunfire erupted. The air filled with the deafening crack of bullets, the sharp smell of gunpowder, shouting in Italian and English. Victor and the security team returned fire, creating a desperate perimeter. But the Lucianos had numbers and superior positioning. This wasn't a battle, it was an execution dressed up as a fight. "Stay down!" Damiano shouted over the noise, his body shielding hers. He fired back with cold precision, each shot calculated, controlled. But Anna could see the math. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and pinned. A bullet ricocheted off the container inches from Damiano's head. He returned fire, taking down one of Luciano's men, but 2 more appeared to replace him. Then Anna saw it, Vincent Luciano moving through the chaos, flanking around the containers, positioning himself for a clear shot at Damiano's exposed side. "Left!" Anna screamed. Damiano spun, firing, but his gun clicked empty. He reached for a spare magazine, but Vincent was already aiming. Anna threw herself forward, knocking Damiano sideways just as Vincent fired. The bullet missed by inches, and they crashed together behind a rusted forklift. "Are you insane?" Damiano's eyes blazed as he reloaded. "You're welcome." Anna's heart hammered. She looked around desperately, searching for anything that could help. They were trapped between containers, with Luciano's men closing in from 3 sides. Then she saw an old fire suppression system, the kind used in industrial warehouses. A big red panel mounted on the container wall, covered in warnings in multiple languages. And next to it, attached to the wall, a glass-enclosed emergency axe. An insane idea formed. "I need 30 seconds, Anna said. "For what?" "Trust me." Before Damiano could stop her, Anna broke from cover, sprinting toward the fire panel. Bullets sparked off metal around her, but she kept moving, driven by pure adrenaline and reckless determination. She grabbed the emergency axe, smashing the glass, then swung it hard at the fire suppression panel. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Alarms shrieked, emergency lights strobed, and from overhead sprinkler systems that somehow still functioned after years of abandonment, a deluge of water and fire-retardant foam exploded downward, flooding the entire area. Visibility dropped to 0. The foam was thick, slippery, disorienting, covering everything in white chaos. But Anna wasn't done. She grabbed the axe and slammed it against the nearest shipping container once, twice, 3 times, creating a deafening metallic clang that echoed through the dock. Then she shouted in the loudest voice she could manage, "Il tuo vestito costoso non può nascondere che sei solo un codardo che si nasconde dietro gli uomini migliori." Her Italian was atrocious, heavily accented, probably grammatically wrong, but the meaning was clear enough. Your expensive suit can't hide that you're just a coward hiding behind better men. The insult delivered by a woman, in Italian, in the middle of a hit, was so unexpected, so absurd, that it created exactly the moment of confused hesitation Anna had gambled on. Damiano didn't waste it. He moved through the foam-covered chaos like a predator, his training and familiarity with violence giving him the advantage. Anna heard shots, grunts, the sound of bodies hitting ground. Then silence. The alarms continued wailing. The foam continued falling. But the gunfire had stopped. Anna stood frozen, covered head to toe in white retardant foam, gripping the axe like a baseball bat, her entire body shaking with adrenaline. "Anna." Damiano's voice cut through the noise. She turned. He emerged from the foam-covered darkness, also coated in white, a gun still in his hand. Behind him, she could see the Luciano men disarmed, subdued, or unconscious. Victor and the security team were securing the scene. And Vincent Luciano was on his knees, Paolo's gun pressed to the back of his head, his expensive suit ruined by foam and defeat. Damiano walked straight to Anna, ignoring everything else, the prisoners, the cleanup, the aftermath. He pulled her against him, his hands framing her face, and kissed her with an intensity that stole her breath. This wasn't gentle. This was survival and victory and absolute, overwhelming relief. His kiss tasted like adrenaline and smoke, desperate and claiming. When they broke apart, both gasping, his eyes burned with something fierce and possessive. "You could have been killed," he said roughly. "So could you." Anna's hands fisted in his foam-covered jacket. "That's why I couldn't let you face this alone. Your Italian is terrible. But effective." She managed a shaky laugh. "Did I say what I meant to say?" "Close enough. You called him a coward hiding behind better men, in possibly the worst accent I've ever heard." Despite everything, the violence, the danger, the bodies, Damiano smiled. Really smiled with warmth and wonder. "You're incredible. Insane but incredible. We match." He kissed her again, softer this time, reverent. "You saved my life with a fire extinguisher and an insult. Fire suppression system, and I prefer to think of it as creative problem-solving." Victor approached, clearing his throat. "Sir, the police will be here soon. We need to move." Damiano nodded but didn't release Anna. "Handle Vincent. Make sure Marco is secured too. I want statements from both of them, full confessions before the authorities arrive. And the woman? Victor's expression was carefully neutral. "The woman," Damiano said firmly, pulling Anna closer, "stays with me, always." The safe house was in Westchester, a modern fortress disguised as a countryside estate, all glass and steel hidden behind ancient oak trees. Damiano's security team had swept it twice before allowing them inside, but Anna barely registered the precautions. She was running on fumes, adrenaline crash making her hands shake as she followed Damiano through the minimalist interior. He moved stiffly, favoring his left side. During the chaos, she'd seen him take a hit, not a bullet, but something had connected hard enough to leave damage. "Sit." Anna pointed to the leather sofa in the living room. "Let me see." "I'm fine." "You're bleeding through your shirt. Sit down before you fall down." For once, Damiano didn't argue. He sank onto the sofa with a barely suppressed wince, and Anna retrieved the first aid kit Victor had left on the counter. Her hands were steadier now, focused by purpose. She helped Damiano out of his jacket and shirt, revealing a nasty gash along his ribs not deep enough for stitches, but angry and bleeding. "This is going to sting," she warned, dampening gauze with antiseptic. "I've had worse." "I know. That's not comforting." Anna cleaned the wound with gentle efficiency, hyper-aware of every point of contact, her fingers on his skin, the warmth of his body, the way his breathing changed when she touched a particularly tender spot. The intimacy of the moment felt more profound than any kiss. This was trust in its purest form, him allowing her to see his damage, her caring for his wounds without flinching. "You were remarkable tonight," Damiano said quietly, watching her work. "I've seen trained soldiers freeze under less pressure. But you ran toward danger, created chaos out of nothing. Saved everyone with a fire extinguisher and terrible Italian." "Fire suppression system," Anna corrected automatically, applying butterfly bandages with careful precision. "And my Italian may be bad, but it worked." It was perfect. His hand came up, catching hers, stilling her movements. "Anna, I need to tell you something. About the fire. About everything." She set down the gauze and met his eyes. "Okay." Damiano took a breath, and she watched him gather the words, this man who commanded empires and controlled everything, struggling to articulate something real. "When my father's business burned, I was 17, old enough to understand we'd lost everything, but too young to stop it. I stood outside that building and watched 3 generations of honor turn to ash." His voice was raw, stripped of its usual control. "My father tried to rebuild legitimately. Took loans from dangerous people. The debt destroyed him literally. His heart gave out from the stress. I found him in his office, surrounded by bills he couldn't pay, broken by a system that protected the people who'd destroyed us." Anna's throat tightened, but she didn't interrupt. "I swore that would never happen to me, that I'd never be powerless again, that I'd build something so strong, so untouchable, that no one could ever take anything from me." Damiano's dark eyes held hers. "So, I became exactly what the Lucianos were, ruthless, controlled, willing to do whatever it took to win. I built an empire on the ashes of my father's honor, and I told myself it was justice. It was survival," Anna said softly. "It was emptiness." His hand tightened on hers. "For 15 years I've lived in a world where everyone wants something from me, where every interaction is a transaction, where trust is a weakness and vulnerability is a death sentence. I convinced myself that was strength. That control was the same as power. And then you slapped me." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "You looked at me, this man everyone fears, and you just saw a bully who needed to be stopped. No calculation, no fear. Just pure, reckless courage on behalf of someone you loved. It was the most real thing anyone had done in my presence in years, maybe ever." Anna felt tears prick her eyes. "Damiano, let me finish." He pulled her closer, his hands framing her face with heartbreaking gentleness. "You didn't just slap me, you woke me up. You showed me what I'd become, what I'd lost in pursuit of control. And then you refused to leave, even when I tried to send you away. even when staying meant walking into danger. You stood beside me, chaos and courage and absolute loyalty, and you made me remember what it felt like to care about something beyond revenge and power. I care about you, Anna whispered. The real you, not the empire or the control or the dangerous reputation. You, the man who keeps an ugly yellow mug on his desk because it makes him smile. The man who lost everything and built it back through sheer determination. The man who's so afraid of being hurt that he's spent 15 years not living at all. Damiano's composure cracked. He pulled her against him, burying his face in her hair, and she felt him shudder. I don't know how to be anything else. Then learn. With me. Anna wrapped her arms around him carefully, mindful of his injury. You don't have to be that person anymore. The war with the Lucianos is over. Vincent is going to prison. Marco's betrayal is exposed. You won. You can finally stop fighting. I don't know if I can. Yes, you can, because you're not alone anymore. She pulled back to look at him. You have me, and I'm not going anywhere. Even when you're controlling and overprotective and trying to lock me in your office for my own safety, even when you make terrible decisions about walking into traps alone, I'm staying. Damiano's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Why? Because underneath all that armor, you're good. You protected Wanda. You paid her debt when you could have destroyed her. You gave me a chance when you should have had me arrested for assault. You're capable of extraordinary kindness, you just forgot how to let yourself feel it. Anna Jean, he said her full name like a prayer. I want to be different. For you. With you. I want to use this power I've built for something other than revenge. I want... He stopped, struggling. I want to deserve you. You already do. Anna kissed him softly. But if you want to build something better, I'll help you. We'll transform your empire into something honorable. Something your father would be proud of. A legacy. Damiano's voice was wondering, like he'd never considered the concept. Not just power, but purpose. Exactly. He kissed her then deep, slow, reverent. Not the desperate passion of survival, but something richer. A promise, a vow, the acknowledgement that they'd found something rare and precious in the midst of darkness. When they broke apart, Damiano rested his forehead against hers. I love you. I don't know when it happened, maybe when you slapped me, maybe when you put that hideous mug on my desk, maybe tonight when you saved my life with a fire suppression system. But I love you, completely. Terrifyingly. I love you too. Anna smiled through tears. Your terrible control issues, your dramatic intensity, your secret softness that you think you hide so well, all of it. Stay with me. Not as my consultant or my employee, as my partner, my equal. Help me build something worth having. On one condition. Anything. We establish a foundation. For people like Wanda, people drowning in debt, exploited by predators. We use your resources, your connections, to help them. Turn your power into protection for people who need it. Damiano's smile was real, warm, transformative. Done. We'll call it the Elena Mancini Foundation. After my mother, she would have liked you. Then yes, I'll stay. I'll build something beautiful with you. Anna kissed him again. We'll transform your darkness into light. Together. Together, Damiano agreed, holding her close. Always. 3 months later, Anna stood in Damiano's office, their office now, and marveled at how much had changed while somehow staying exactly the same. The ugly yellow mug still sat on the desk, now joined by a matching one that said, "World's okayest boss," that she'd given him as a joke. He'd pretended to hate it. He used it every morning. The floor-to-ceiling windows still overlooked Manhattan, but the view felt different now. Less like a kingdom to conquer, more like a city full of people they could actually help. Damiano entered, carrying 2 folders and wearing the expression he got when he was planning something. I have something for you. If it's another impossible deadline, I'm going to need coffee first. It's better than coffee. He placed the folders on the desk with careful ceremony. Open them. Anna picked up the first one. Inside were legal documents, dense, official, stamped with corporate seals. She skimmed the contents, her eyes widening with each paragraph. This is a partnership agreement. 50% ownership of all legitimate Mancini global operations, full voting rights, co-CEO. Damiano's dark eyes held hers. I'm not offering you a job anymore, Anna. I'm offering you an empire, as my equal. Anna stared at the documents, her heart racing. Damiano, this is worth everything. I know. He moved closer, his intensity focused entirely on her. You've spent 3 months transforming this company. The foundation is launching next month. We've restructured our lending practices to eliminate predatory terms. You've turned my weapon into something that actually helps people. You've made me better. Made everything better. We did it together. No, you led, and I followed. For the first time in 15 years, I'm building something I'm actually proud of. He touched her face gently. You deserve this. Not as a gift, but as recognition of what you've already accomplished. Anna's throat tightened. She opened the second folder. Inside was a foundation charter, the Elena Mancini Foundation, dedicated to helping people escape crushing debt through education, legal support, and interest-free emergency loans. But it wasn't named after his mother anymore. The header read, The Jones-Mancini Foundation for Financial Freedom. Wanda's name, Anna whispered. It started with her. With you protecting her. It seems right that she's honored in what we're building. Damiano smiled. She's already agreed to join the board. Said something about finally putting her business degree to use for something that matters. Tears blurred Anna's vision. You did this for her. For me. I did this for us. For the life we're building together. He took her hands. Sign the partnership agreement, Anna. Stand beside me not just in private but publicly. Be my partner in every way that matters. Anna looked at the documents. At this man who'd started as a dangerous stranger and become her home and made her decision. She signed with a flourish. Congratulations, Mancini. You're officially stuck with me. That was always the plan. Damiano pulled her close, kissing her with familiar intensity. Now comes the hard part. Running a company and a foundation while dealing with your control issues? I'm prepared. No. He stepped back, and Anna saw something nervous in his expression, an emotion she'd never seen on Damiano Mancini's face before. This. He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Anna's breath stopped. 3 months ago, you walked into my life and slapped me across the face, Damiano said, his voice rough with emotion. You called me a monster. You were absolutely right. I was empty, controlled, living in a prison of my own making. And you, his smile was soft, wondering, you were chaos, courage, light in a darkness I'd convinced myself was strength. He opened the box. The ring inside was stunning, a single diamond, elegant and substantial, set in platinum that caught the morning light. You've given me everything, Anna Jean. Purpose, joy, a reason to be better than what I was. You didn't just save my life at that dock, you saved me from the life I was living, from the man I'd become. He dropped to one knee, and Anna felt tears stream down her face. I know I'm controlling. I know I'm intense. I know I'll probably try to protect you from dangers that don't exist and drive you crazy with my need for order. Yes, Anna interrupted. Damiano blinked. I haven't finished asking. Yes. The answer is yes. To all of it. The partnership, the foundation, the marriage, the crazy overprotective tendencies I'll spend the rest of my life managing. She pulled him to his feet, laughing through tears. Yes, to building something beautiful with you. Yes, to being your queen, your partner, your light. Yes, to everything. Damiano's composure shattered. He kissed her desperately, reverently, slipping the ring onto her finger without breaking contact. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying, laughing, holding each other like they'd never let go. I don't deserve you. he whispered against her hair. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. Anna pulled back to look at him. We're going to do extraordinary things, Damiano Mancini. We're going to transform your empire into something that actually matters. We're going to help people like Wanda, like my mother, like everyone who's been crushed by systems designed to exploit them. We're going to be powerful and good. That sounds exhausting. It sounds perfect. She kissed him softly. And we'll do it together. Always. Always, he agreed. Anna looked around the office at the ugly mugs, at the city below, at the partnership documents that made her an equal owner of an empire. She thought about the terrified bartender who'd slapped a stranger 3 months ago, defending her friend, without thinking of consequences. She'd walked into darkness thinking she was sacrificing herself. Instead, she'd found power, purpose, love, that transformed rather than diminished. She hadn't escaped the shadows, she'd conquered them, turned them into light. And standing beside a man who'd been a monster and became human through the simple act of being seen, being loved, being real, she finally understood what true strength looked like. It wasn't control. It wasn't domination. It wasn't building walls so high nothing could hurt you. It was choosing to be vulnerable, choosing to care, choosing to stand beside someone and face the darkness together, knowing you were stronger, united than you ever were alone. What are you thinking? Damiano asked, studying her expression. Anna smiled, fierce and free. I'm thinking that slapping you was the best decision I ever made. And the partnership? Second best. She kissed him, tasting their shared future bright and complicated and absolutely real. Now let's go change the world, Mr. Mancini. After you, Mrs. Mancini-to-be. They walked out of the office, hand in hand, two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances and built something extraordinary from chaos and courage and a love that refused to be anything less than transformative. The empire they'd inherited was vast, but the one they were building together founded on honor, driven by purpose, powered by a partnership that made them both better, would be legendary. And it all started with a slap, a smile, and two people brave enough to see past the armor to the truth underneath. Finally, someone real. Finally, someone home. If you want more stories that make you feel something, stories that remind you why romance and danger and wit make the perfect combination, then subscribe to Bella's Stories. We're building a community of people who believe in powerful storytelling. Join us. Click subscribe, explore our other videos, and let's keep telling stories that matter. See you in the comments. Tell me your favorite moment from this story.